Hi, this is Chad, and welcome to Help You Sponsor. And this video, I'm going to give you a bit of an orientation on how to get started and how the different pieces fit together. So, the first thing you'll notice in the left-hand column is your main navigation for administering the software. In your admin options, you can update your account. This is where you'll also configure your credit card processing. So you'll set up your Stripe account and then enter in your key or your authorized.net account. If you need to update your payment credit card, you come here. Email settings, this is where you will want to go to set up the email address that system emails are sent from. It also is where you want to set up Mailgun. Mailgun is the system that we use for sending emails out of Help You Sponsor. Now, you can send without setting up Mailgun, but then it sends from the Help You Sponsor account. And if you want it to be more personalized, look like it's coming from your organization, then you'll want to set up Mailgun. The edit template, this is something that you won't really need to worry about. This is more of an advanced feature that if you have a web developer who wants to edit the front end of the website, they can come in here and make a custom look and feel. But for the most part, most people will be just embedding it into your current website, and so you don't need to worry about this. Admins and admin groups. So if we go into the admin groups, we have a couple of admin groups set up here. First of all, the main one, this is the one that I have set up that gives access to everything. So this is like a super user type admin. And then the other admin group, I've set up a restricted one, so it's only giving access to certain areas. So anybody with this admin group would be only able to access the child sponsorships. Now, when we add an admin to a group, now one thing to be aware of is that just because it's called a group, it doesn't mean that there has to be multiple in the group. You can have one admin group and only one admin in it. That's totally fine. It just is a way that you can set up one set of permissions and apply it to multiple admins if that's what you need. So you don't manage the access of an admin on the admin account itself. So if I go into this admin, the only thing that I really can do is set up their email address, password, and then select which group that they're in. So that's about it on the admin options. Now, if we go into the program options, this is where you're going to actually set up your sponsorship programs. First thing that I want to show you is the programs themselves. So in here is where you're going to set up your different programs, and you can set up just one program, or if you want to set up different ones for different areas, however you want to set that up. There is no limit to the number of programs that you can set up in the software. We're going to go into this default program that is set up here and edit it. And you'll see we've got several different blocks here. And the way Help You Sponsor works is it's really designed to be a modular system so that you set up your program and then you attach the different pieces to your program to fill it out. And I'll show you what that means. And I'm just going to start at the top here just to get you oriented on what's going on. So the first thing we have is the iframe embed code. This code right here, if you want to embed your software so that people can go in and sponsor kids from your website, you will go into this, you will copy this code right here and place it onto a page of your website. There's also these links right here so that you can view what it looks like while you're testing your program. So, moving on, these are the different sections of your program, the different pieces that you need to plug in. First of all, we have our settings. So the settings, this is where you control all the different options in your program, such as uh, the cost of a sponsorship, the type of sponsorship program, and I'll go over the settings in a little bit. Then we attach a recipient form. So this is the profile form with all the information that you're collecting on each of your sponsorship recipients. So in this case, we're sponsoring children, so these are the child profiles. We have our donor form, so this is the information that we're collecting from our donors. And then we also have our auto emails. So these are all the emails that are automatically generated by the software and sent out depending on different events that occur within the software. So you would come in here and select the one that you have set up for this program and attach it. So you need to attach each of these. Once you do, you'll see this green box saying that it's attached and that it's correctly configured. So that's how you configure your program. Now, in order to do this, you have to have each of these pieces already set up. So we're going to go through and take a look at each of those. If we go into our forms, you'll see we have two forms here. We have our child profile form. So in our child profile form, we have child name, birthday, gender, and we can go ahead and edit this by going up here and adding a new field. Then we can go through this this form right here and add the type of field, the information that we want to collect, the permissions, where it's going to be viewed, and all of the different pieces. Now, one thing to point out too is that anytime you are in a section and you have questions about it, look for this button or the icon with the question mark in it, and when you do, it's going to open up a dialog box that gives you additional information about how to set this up or answers questions about the area that you're in. So look for that throughout the software. A lot of the help files are just already built right into the software. So we can also go into manage the fields. These you can drag and drop and reorder however you'd like. And once we're done, now we have this form field or our child profile set up. It's exactly the same with the sponsor profiles. The only difference is the type of form that we're setting up. So if I go back to our forms and create a new form, you'll see that there is these options for a recipient profile, donor profile, or progress report. We're not going to go into progress reports. Progress reports are kind of a specialized feature, so and that's not really relevant for the initial setup of your software. Next, let's take a look at the settings. So the settings, this is where you define how your program is going to be run. Here I have my general settings set up, and you'll see that this is a program type we call number of sponsors. This means that for a child to be considered fully sponsored, they need a specific number of sponsors. So you see here we have number of sponsors needed is 1. Now if I change that to 2, then the child would remain available for sponsorship until there were 2 sponsors for that child. We have 2 other types of programs, the contribution level. So this, instead of number of sponsors, this would mean that there's a required contribution level. So maybe we need $100 a month to consider a child fully sponsored. And then we give donors the ability to sponsor at different levels, maybe $25 a month, $50 a month, and $100 a month. So it would be one donor at $100 a month would fully sponsor a child. 2 donors at $50 a month would fully sponsor a child. 4 donors at $25 a month would fully sponsor a child, or any combination that equals $100 a month. If we continue down, a lot of these other fields are pretty self-explanatory, but if you have questions, again, here's a button with the question mark in it, and you can expand it to get more information about what these mean. And so there's lots of different pieces to this, and as you go through, you'll be able to figure out what each one means. And if you have questions, go ahead and send us an email, but you should be able to figure out a lot of these just by the helps that are built into this page. Moving on, now we have the auto emails. So these emails are the ones, like I said earlier, that are automatically generated when when different events occur within the software. They're named pretty self-explanatory. So when a new donor signs up, this email is sent. Go ahead and take a look at this. So you see that you can customize what these emails say. You have a subject line, the message. You'll also notice that within each of these there are these short codes. So these short codes are a way to auto-populate these emails with information from your sponsorship program. When you first set up your software, all of these you'll see all of these all of these emails have already been populated, so you just need to edit them. But notice that the short codes in here may not necessarily work with your software. You'll need to look and make sure that you're using short codes that are available with how you've set up your program. And so if you've added other fields or you've changed fields, then the ones that are in here by default won't necessarily be available. So for example, you see there's a shortcode in here for gender. The actual shortcode is EN_gender. So this one would need to be updated in order for it to work. Birthday is EN_birthday. So those would need to be updated in order for them to work. So you just need to make sure that you're using the correct shortcodes, otherwise it won't work. If I save it, now it's updated. You'll also see that there is some warnings here. If you see a warning, that doesn't necessarily mean something won't work. It just means that maybe you need to take a look at it, that there's certain items that are typically in an email that we're not finding. You can choose to ignore those if you want. There's also the red label, which tells you that it's blank or that there is an error. And so if you choose to leave an email blank, it won't be sent. And that's fine. It doesn't mean that there's going to be an error in the software. It just means it's not going to be sent, and we're just letting you know that if you want this email to actually be sent, then you need to fix it. And so those are the main parts to setting up your sponsorship. Once you have all that set up, you're ready to start adding recipients to your sponsorship. And so in this case, we have a child sponsorship, and we can go ahead and start adding more children to our sponsorship program so that they are available for sponsorship. You can also start adding your donors, and then connecting your sponsorships. So for example, if I go into edit this donor and I go into the sponsorship section, this is where I could add an additional sponsorship to this donor. Now you'll want to get in here and just play around and take a look at the different areas and see how they're set up, and again, just kind of get yourself oriented to the different pieces. And if you have questions, go ahead and send us an email, and we'll get back to you and answer your questions. One other area that I'll point out is your donations. So this is where you can go to run your donation reports, and you can select your donor group and then the dates that you want to run and the fields to display, and then you'll be able to get a report of all the donations for that time period. So that's it. That concludes this orientation video. I hope you found it helpful.